Hi there. Welcome to IRL Storytime. My name is Margaret, and I am going to read a story this evening called Giant or Waiting for the Thursday Boat. And it's written by Robert Munsch, and artwork is by Gilles Thibault. One Sunday, McKeown, the largest giant in all of Ireland, got mad for the first time in his life. He sat under his apple tree and said, "When St. Patrick came to Ireland, he chased out all the snakes, he chased out all the elves, and he chased out all the other giants. I liked the snakes, I liked the elves, I really liked the other giants. I like almost everybody, but I don't like St. Patrick." McKeown decided to complain. He ran over the countryside, moving mountains and jumping rivers until he came to St. Patrick's Church. Then he pounded on the roof and he yelled and screamed and smashed a few trees into matchsticks. Inside the church, it sounded like 3 earthquakes and a thunderstorm. Everybody, even St. Patrick, ran out to see what was going on. When the kids saw McKeown, they yelled, "Giant!" and they climbed all over him. He let them climb for a while. Then he said to St. Patrick, "I like the snakes, I like the elves, I like the giants. I just don't like you. You'll never chase me out." St. Patrick looked at McKeown and quietly said, "I was just doing what God wanted." McKeown got so mad, he tore the bell off the church steeple and he threw it into the nearest ocean. When St. Patrick saw the church bell flying through the air, he said very patiently to McKeown, "You shouldn't throw church bells. Everybody knows that God likes church bells. Someday God is going to get mad." "Good," said McKeown. "Maybe if he gets mad, he'll come out and fight. That would be nice." So every Sunday, McKeown threw church bells into the ocean, waiting for God to get upset. Finally, one Sunday, St. Patrick said, "Now you've done it. You've taken the last church bell in all of Ireland and thrown it into the ocean. God is mad, McKeown. God is coming on the Thursday boat." On Thursday, McKeown sat on the beach and waited for God. The first boat to come in was a very small boat. It, in it was a very small little girl with lots of small fish. McKeown looked at her and said, "Did you happen to see God while you were out fishing? When he gets off his boat, I am going to fight him." The next boat was very fancy and had sails of silk. A rich man got off. He was so rich that he hired lots of people just to carry his money. He was so rich, he bought the ground he walked on. McKeown said, "This must be him." And he yelled, "Look out, God, here comes McKeown." McKeown jumped on the rich man, swung him around, and was about to throw him into the ocean when all the people yelled, "Wait, he's not God." McKeown put the man down and said he was sorry. The rich man ran off so fast he forgot to buy the ground he was running on. Then McKeown sat down beside the little girl and waited for another boat. The next boat was much bigger. It had lots of flags. A man came off the boat dressed in very fancy clothes. He was so important that he was carried by other people. "Ah," yelled McKeown, "this must be God." McKeown jumped on the man, picked him up, and swung him round and around. And he was about to throw him into the ocean when the people on the boat yelled, "Wait! He's not God!" McKeown said he was sorry and put him down. The man ran off so fast he forgot to be carried. McKeown sat down beside the little girl and waited for another boat. "Mr. McKeown," said the little girl, "it looks like God is not going to fight. You're the world's best giant, and even God would have to agree with that. Why don't you stop pounding people and go back to being friendly?" "Oh, good idea," said Mr. McKeown. "I don't really like being angry." The little girl gave him 3 fish, and they became the best of friends. The next day, while Mr. McKeown was sitting under his apple tree, the little girl ran up and said, "Have you heard? St. Patrick has gone to heaven. He's chasing out all the snakes and elves and giants and filling the place up with church bells." Mr. McKeown jumped up and yelled, "Look out, St. Patrick!" He picked up the little girl and he jumped so high his head slammed into a cloud. He jumped again and he went so high he bumped into a star. He jumped again and went so high he landed in heaven. In fact, he landed right beside St. Patrick. McKeown looked around and saw more church bells than he had ever seen before, even more church bells than in Ireland. There were no giants, no elves, no snakes, but lots of church bells. He ran off, moving mountains, jumping rivers, and throwing bells over the side of heaven. St. Patrick was very upset. He decided to complain. He went to the biggest house in heaven and yelled, "Send out God." Nobody came out. He went to a smaller house and yelled, "Send out God." Nobody came out. St. Patrick tried lots of big houses and couldn't find God anyplace. He was so upset, he sat down and cried. Just then McKeown came along and said, "Paddy, why are you sitting here crying? You're supposed to be hanging church bells." "Ah, McKeown," said St. Patrick, "I can't find God, and I want to complain about having a crazy giant like you in heaven." "Well," said McKeown, "the smallest house in heaven has an angel in front. That's the place to go. You can complain about me, and I'll complain about you." They both went to the smallest house in heaven, and sure enough, there was an angel. They both went in and saw lots of giants, lots of snakes, lots of elves, lots of church bells. And the little girl. She looked at them and said, "Saints are for hanging up church bells, and giants are for tearing them down. That's just the way it is. Why don't you two just try getting along?" "Right," said McKeown. "I'll tear down all the church bells in heaven. Then we'll get along." He started laughing. "Right," said St. Patrick. "I guess heaven has enough room for everyone, even giants." And he started laughing. "Oh," said the little girl, "it's so nice to have a perfect giant and a perfect saint." Then she started to laugh too. She laughed till the mountains shook and the rivers moved and stars changed directions. For a little girl, she had an enormous laugh. McKeown is still throwing church bells out of heaven to this day. They become shooting stars. Ask your mom and dad and go out some night and look for some. They're beautiful. the end. Hope you enjoyed the story.